All right, welcome. Today, we're going to deconstruct a really interesting executive communication method called VoiceStoryPro. The whole idea is to give leaders a serious advantage by mixing the art of filmmaking with some seriously effective coaching techniques. Let's dive in and see how it all works.
So let me just ask you this, straight up. Is your voice, the actual tool you use every single day to lead, to persuade, to inspire, is it your strongest asset? Or, if you're being honest, is it maybe holding you back a little? It's a huge question for any leader out there. Because let's be real, the stakes have never been higher. In the global marketplace we're all playing in, great communication isn't just some soft skill anymore. Nope, it's the engine of success. It's what separates the good leaders from the truly unforgettable ones.
Okay, so let's start with the big challenge facing modern leaders. We're talking about a communication landscape that's just completely different than it was even a few years ago. It demands a whole new set of tools.
And it really boils down to these three things. You've got to command respect, right? Often in a Zoom call where it's super hard to feel present. You have to project authority, but without coming off as a bulldozer. And maybe the biggest one, you have to genuinely connect with people from totally different cultures. That is a tall order, for sure.
So, what's the answer? Well, this is where things get really interesting. We're not talking about your standard, boring presentation training. We're talking about an approach that's rooted in the art of filmmaking, and it was developed by a coach named Jason R. over at VoiceStoryPro.
Now this is what really makes this whole thing click. It's this incredibly rare mix of skills that sets Jason's method apart. You get the sharp focus of an executive coach? Sure. You get the structured approach of a certified language expert, but the secret ingredient? It's the filmmaking background. Seriously, think about it. A filmmaker doesn't see a pitch as a bunch of bullet points. They see it as a story, with scenes, tension, and a killer ending. That shift in perspective is a total game changer.
So, let's break down the core methodology. How does this all become a practical toolkit? Well, it's organized into 3 powerful tools that are all designed to give you, as a leader, real, genuine influence.
So here's the toolkit. It's built on 3 main pillars. First, you've got mastering your executive presence and your vocal dynamics. Second is using storytelling as a strategic weapon for business. And third, it's about making all of that work in the really complex world of global business English. The first 2 are kind of like the engine, and that third one is the racetrack where you prove just how powerful that engine is.
Okay, first up is this idea of the power voice. Now, this is not about being the loudest person in the room, not at all. It's about finding that confident, commanding tone, but pairing it with absolute clarity and, this is key, authenticity. It's about learning how to use your pace, your pitch, and even silence to project authority and build trust, whether you're talking to a big shot investor or your own team.
The second tool is just as powerful, data storytelling. So many leaders just throw spreadsheets and charts at people, but the ones who really make an impact, they do this. They translate those dry, boring numbers into a story that actually makes sense, a narrative with a beginning, a middle, and an end that shows people not just what the data says, but why on earth it matters to them.
So, that's the theory, right? But does it actually work in the real world? What does this kind of transformation actually look like? Well, let's hear it directly from leaders who've been through this process with VoiceStoryPro.
Boom! This one just perfectly nails that power voice concept we were talking about. For this senior product manager, it wasn't just a small improvement. It became a tangible, real asset. And it gave them the confidence to perform in one of the most stressful situations you can imagine, a global investor meeting.
And here's the proof for data storytelling. This finance director didn't just pick up a few new tricks, they completely changed how they communicate value to the board. They went from just reporting numbers to telling a compelling story that gets everyone engaged. That's how you get things done.
And this quote right here, this really brings it all back to that unique filmmaker foundation. The client, Philip, points out Jason's ability to see stories from different angles, to find the hidden narrative that everyone else misses. That, right there, is the creative magic that turns this from just skills training into a fundamental transformation.
Okay, so if any of this is resonating with you, you're probably wondering, what's the path forward? How does this actually work? Well, the process is laid out in a really clear, straightforward way for anyone looking to engage.
Look how simple this is. It all starts with a diagnostic conversation, just to figure out your specific challenges. Then you get a tailor-made plan, and then the coaching begins. And you even measure the impact to see the results. That crucial first step, That diagnostic call with Jason R. can be booked through the VoiceStoryPro website, which you'll find at linktree.ee/VoiceStoryPro. That's linktr.ee/VoiceStoryPro.
So, let's wrap this up. We're living in a time where your ideas are only as good as your ability to communicate them. Speaking clearly and telling great stories aren't just nice-to-have skills anymore. They are absolutely essential. They are the strategic edge that every leader needs to make a real impact.
Ultimately, this whole method from VoiceStoryPro is about transforming your voice from just a tool you use into your single most powerful leadership asset. To start that journey, the place to go is right there on your screen, linktree.ee/VoiceStoryPro. So I'll leave you with this thought. The question isn't just what story you could tell, but what kind of future could you build if your voice was, without a doubt, your greatest strength